Folks, welcome back to Fowl Players Radio. My name is Michael Spedden. We now have a YouTube channel. It's Fowl Players Radio on YouTube. We're releasing our new episodes on YouTube, as well as digging up a couple of old episodes that we've done in the past and releasing them on video as well. You'll see them little by little as we add them to our YouTube channel, so enjoy. I had Laura Meadows on the show back in October, and she's always a great time. I really enjoy talking to her. She's a very, very nice person, a great actress, and a lot of fun to talk to. She's known as a scream queen. I'm just kind of going over her bio here to let you know, who she is and what she's done. I've had her on the show a few times in the past, and she's been just great, as she is in this episode. She's a scream queen. And she really embraces that title. She passionately pursues her love of horror and all things fantasy. And outside of horror parts, she's played just about everything, mothers, detectives, doctors, lovers, villains, fantasy characters, has done voiceover work. She's also portrayed British royals like Queen Elizabeth I, Queen Margaret Tudor. And she has this trademark blazing red hair, a big mane of blazing red hair. And she's been compared to Marilyn Monroe, Nicole Smith, Jayne Mansfield, and she's been also called a real-life Jessica Rabbit. She started her acting career years ago in Dallas, Texas. She was on the set of Oliver Stone's Any Given Sunday. She caught Oliver Stone's eye and got bumped up to being Ann Margret's stand-in. From being a background actress. And after that, she moved to Los Angeles to pursue acting. She's from St. Louis originally, and since moving to Los Angeles, has appeared in many films, television, digital projects. She's been in comedies, dramas, and her favorite is horror. She has worked with notable directors such as Rob Zombie, and Darren Lynn Bousman has also appeared in many music videos, notably the Foo Fighters, the Rope video where she ran into the ocean. It was freezing cold and she was wearing a bikini. And she's got a very extensive range as an actor. She's played all kinds of parts. And again, she's been just a great guest, a lot of fun to talk to. And I think you'll agree. I think you'll enjoy listening and watching this. Her website, official website, is laurameadowsactress.com. You can also find her on IMDb. You can also find, again, her other episodes. She's been on with us twice at www.fowlplayersradio.com. You can also subscribe on other platforms. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Stitcher and Spotify, and there's so many of them. If you just go ahead and look up Fowl Players Radio on anytime on any search engine, you'll find us in a million different places. So be sure to check us out. Remember, too, the Fowl Players of Perryville are booking, and we are going to be performing on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad train. We have shows starting in June, going all the way through October, and then Polar Express will be again this winter. Not to think too far ahead, but we'd love to see you all come out for that. Again, check us out at www.fowlplayersofperryville.com. So enjoy this episode with Laura Meadows, and we will see you soon. Thank you very much.
All righty.
And welcome back to Fowl Players Radio, folks. For Halloween season, we have actress Laura Meadows returning to the show. She was with us about a year ago, talking about all of her movies and everything that was out there. And we had her, last time we had her on, she had just been working on a movie by a recent guest, Michael Moutsatsos, The Butcher. And we talked about that last time. We just recently had Michael as a guest and said all kinds of nice things about Laura. And it's great to have Laura back. So welcome back.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
So it looks like you've been busy. You've been getting some work done, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I have been. I did two horror movies. They're not out yet. One isn't even been announced, but it's done. And they're both for Lionsgate. And one I am the villain and the third lead, and the other one I'm in that too. And it's called Devilroo, and
Mhm.
it's done by Thomas Churchill.
Oh,
And
sure. Thomas
yeah,
Churchill. Yeah, yeah.
Thomas Churchill, he's the
Mhm.
man.
My acting teachers worked with him.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
Barry Papick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he was in one of his movies a couple of years ago. I saw him in it. The name escapes me right now. But yeah, Thomas Churchill, he does great work.
Oh, he does. He's wonderful, and he's a wonderful director.
Yeah, he
Uh,
does. He is.
Michael is as well. They
Hmm.
all are
They sure
wonderful
are. They
directors.
sure are. And I tell you what, your friend Michael, he's going to need to put up some new shelves in his house with all these trophies I'm seeing him with lately.
Well, he can send some to my house maybe if he wants to.
Exactly.
I'll help
Exactly.
store those for him.
Right. Right. Well,
I'm
good
sure
for
there's
him.
a lot of other people
Hmm.
offering, but yeah, he's probably going to get started on some other work here pretty soon. Did he talk to you about that?
Yeah, he did. He did. He was talking about that, talking about, the movie that he just released and everything. And he is officially one of the coolest people I've ever met because he was a baseball fury in the Warriors,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and he told me that story and I was just like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy, just like Wayne's World. So great. Well, it's good to see that you've gotten some movies, some movie work this year and everything. And so you've been telling me, you've been you told me some very interesting stories as we were kind of talking
Yeah.
pre-interview. So tell me about some of these things that you had mentioned. You were looking into your family tree.
Yes, I was
Um,
looking into my family tree, and I saw, because we've been here for hundreds of years, and
mhm,
I saw that there was articles about a witch in Salem, and she had been accused twice of
mhm.
witchcraft.
Wow.
And yeah, can't stay out of trouble. Uh, and the second time she was accused, well, she saw somebody burning, and she's like, "That's terrible." And they're like, "Witch!" And just it's just crazy like that. Do you think they really burned the real witches? No.
No.
They had superpowers or powers of some kind. I'm sure they
Mhm.
didn't get caught.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but yes, and then her and her husband sued for defamation of character. And I was like, you can do that?
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that was a thing back in those days, but apparently, huh?
I was like, wow. I mean,
Hmm.
that's the cool thing about Ancestry. You can go back and read the real, actual stories of the
Hmm.
time period,
Right.
rather than somebody else's, summary of what
Hmm.
happened. So yeah, and one of the reverends stood up for her and said she was fine, lady, no problem. She just kind of cranky. So I think the witch was actually another word with a different letter starting with it, but they
That
got
could
it
be.
mixed up apparently.
Hmm.
Not a witch, but a
Yes. Yes. I
yeah.
see where you mean.
So they agreed and they said, no, she's not a witch. And then they're like, yeah, we want to sue him for
Hmm.
saying so.
Huh.
He got in trouble for
Wow.
yeah. So I guess if you get accused of being a witch, you need to
Hmm.
have a good lawyer.
Wow. Hey,
Who
I guess
knew?
yeah, who knew? Who knew? Back in those days, they must have had a good lawyer for that. I guess they must have had billboards back in the 1600s of you picture a guy up there in a black robe and a wig, you know.
Yeah.
Defamation of character, accused of witchcraft, call me,
Oh,
or
me.
go to the third hut on the right, or whatever they did back then.
It's not workers' comp or a
No,
car accident. It's accused of witchcraft.
right,
Call or
right,
holler down the
yeah.
road. I'll be there.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Oh,
Very, very interesting. Very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I had no idea you could do that.
I
You know,
know. I
just
know.
wow. And it would
Wonderful.
be somewhere, it'd be a story when I'm researching my family tree.
Hmm. Hmm. That's great. Many more people are doing that nowadays. A couple of my relatives, my sister and a couple of cousins, And then my mother on, my mom's side, she's been doing a lot of that too, and finding a lot of interesting things.
Oh yeah.
It's fascinating if you really have the time to look into that and, put two and two together. You really find, family members, and we've met some family members that have looked this up and everything. I mean, I can understand why you enjoy doing that, because it really is interesting.
It is interesting, and I think from an acting standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
it getting to know yourself and your ancestors and how you can tap into different stories. The stories are so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody offers me a character, I can think about it. I can like, okay, so what did Mary do in those days? And it just opens up a whole new world of characters and ways to identify with different people and what they went through. I think it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I found out that I actually have another sister.
Wow.
That was a shock.
Huh. Wow. And you had, how did you find out?
Well, I looked at the DNA and I'm like, who are you? And so I wrote to her and I said, exactly how are we related? And she said, well, your dad's my dad.
Oh,
like,
wow.
What? Oh my God.
Mhm.
And she's like, here's my email. You can write to me. I'm like, okay. I'll send you pictures of the kids. And what else do you know?
Huh.
So, yeah, that was interesting. But it's all just very fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. I think I saw you mention something like that, because I do follow you on Facebook, and I'm always looking to see. I always see when you have a new project or good news and everything. And I think I
Yeah,
did see you mention that now that you mentioned, and I did see
yeah.
you say that now that you mentioned that,
Right.
Mhm.
And well, the reason I started doing it is because I sent my application off to Daughters of the American Revolution. And my family
Okay.
had done a lot of research, and we had soldiers. So they got all my paperwork together, and I had to continue to research. And so they got all my paperwork together and they sent it off. So hopefully they accept me.
Yeah, my cousin got into that, because we found out that we had Revolutionary War soldiers in our family as well,
Mhm.
and yeah, that and so I think pretty much any of the women in my family are eligible to join that. I believe, is that correct? If you have an
Yeah.
ancestor
Oh
that,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. As soon as hopefully I'm accepted.
Mhm.
Well, actually there's Sons of the American Revolution too. So
Yes,
this
yes,
is
yes.
this is a Halloween Thanksgiving combo show. Okay,
Hmm.
sorry guys. This is Thanksgiving stuff, I guess.
Sure, sure.
But there's Sons of the American Revolution. So once one person gets the papers through and the line through, then everyone else on that in that family can join on those papers.
Wow, and you get a special license plate with that too.
Do you really?
Yeah,
Oh,
you can in Maryland. You can in Maryland. You can get all kinds of things. You can get, but they
oh,
do have
Toby,
sons
here
and
comes the
daughters of the.
birds.
Yeah, that's a perk. You can get a special license plate. It'll say DAR on it,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, that's Daughters of the American Revolution.
Oh, wow, that is cool.
It is.
So
It is.
that's for our Thanksgiving holiday coming up after Halloween.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So speaking of this season, it seems like there's no other season that really appeals more and to performers, and that performers have such a love for, than Halloween. It seems like it just, for creative people, this really seems like it could be the part of dressing up. It could be the fact that we're storytellers, we're all storytellers, and say what you want about, horror movies or whatever. There's some people that love them, some people that hate them, but they definitely get your attention, and they
Mhm.
definitely, create suspense, and they definitely hit your emotions in a way that no other genre really does,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the fear, there's something that's undesirable yet desirable about fear at the same time,
Yeah.
you know?
It's uh It's so imaginative, and it does tap into our fears, although some of it is very psychological.
Mm-hmm.
Also doesn't have to be graphic, and I think some of the older ones had incredibly interesting stories, and it all has to do with, I think, our desire to know what is the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
unexplained things, what happens after we die, lots of different questions that maybe some people think they're answered, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it explores that topic,
Mm-hmm.
and it is fascinating in that way.
When were you first exposed to horror?
Oh, I was a little kid. We had horror. There was horror movies, and I loved those since I was little in grade school. So I would look and I'd see what horror movies. Since we had to wait until a show actually came on, and probably nobody understands that
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Right.
But I'd see when something was coming on, and it'd be coming on during the day, and I'd say to my mom, "I really want to stay home and watch this." And she'd be like, okay, you don't learn anything in school anyway, might as well stay home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would pick what I wanted to watch and tell her, and I get to stay home and watch movies.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I go to school, but
Right, right.
I think I missed most of grade school.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't matter because I went to 6 different grade schools. We were always moving.
Yeah, yeah. You had mentioned that before, with your parents, I think were professors.
Yes,
And
yes.
so you were going from different university jobs and teaching jobs and things like that. um
Right.
yeah, I kind of got exposed to horror in a couple of different ways growing up. I think in a lot of ways, they say, that old nursery rhyme, sugar and spice and everything nice is what little girls are made of. It's snips and snails and puppy dog tails. So little boys have a tendency to be more attracted to the gross, but I don't find that to always be the case, because there are just
Mhm.
as many women that, girls and women that love horror as well. But I think it may be a little more inherent in boys. And I always had like a morbid curiosity growing up. The shopping center near where I grew up, there was an old 1930s Art Deco theater.
Mhm.
And that was the neighborhood movie theater that we had in those days. And not only would I go there with my mother when I was a little kid to see Snoopy Go Home and the Apple Dumpling Gang and all that, but we would see posters for Jaws.
Mhm.
And I would look at that and I was like, oh my God, when we go to the ocean, is that what we're swimming around? So I saw that. And then I was interested in Frankenstein and Dracula, but there was one movie when I was staying at my grandmother's that scared the hell out of me and made me not want to see horror again, but then also want to see all the horror in the world again. It was called Beyond the Door.
Oh, okay.
And it was very similar to The Exorcist, came out around the same time. They had like a number of those movies like The Omen, The Exorcist,
Yeah.
Rosemary's Baby,
Mhm.
about possession. This was one about possession where a mother was possessed. And so I'm laying in, slept in the back room at my grandmother's house when I would stay there. And there was a little black and white TV. You remember, you turn it on and then the dot had to sit there and warm up for a while. Then the
Oh,
screen
yeah.
came on,
And the black and white TV. Hey,
Yeah,
kid, we had black and white TVs.
yeah, exactly. So I sat there and then it came on. And then there was a scene where, the main character, the woman, who was the mother, was possessed. It's like she's sitting there looking down with her hair over her face. Then she looks up and she's got like the white eyes and the zombie looking, possessed face. And she was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Ah!" So I like flipped the TV off real quick. My grandmother's coming in. "Oh, what are you watching?" And I said, "I don't know." So she looked in the TV guide. "Oh, Beyond the Door. Good luck with that one." So I ended up turning it back on and watching it. And I'm just like, I got the covers up and everything. And but yeah, it was just, monsters. And I used to, we used to read like Fangoria magazine and things like that, and horror movie magazines. And some of us actually in the neighborhood, we used to get together and build models of Frankenstein and what have you and stuff. And I'm sure, I'm guessing that you probably grew up around the same time. You remember a lot of those things too, that we, would see and got us into horror. But
Yeah.
some of your favorite movies, tell us about that.
Well, I remember what my dad's favorite horror movie was, first of all, and he was mesmerized by Frankenstein when he was a little boy. He
Mm-hmm.
said it was the scariest thing, especially when the little girl befriended Frankenstein. It made such an impression, and he remembered it all of his life. And I remember him being really excited about the Wax Museum with Vincent Price, and it was in
Oh,
3D.
yep. Those are
And
two movies right there. The Wax Museum and the original Frankenstein. My mother was scared as hell of the House of Wax. That was one that gave her nightmares. She would tell me, when she saw that, I guess that came out in the late 50s. I guess she was like a young teenager at the time. And she saw that and would not go into a room by herself for the longest time. Another one, Frankenstein, the original one. And you had just mentioned
yes,
the little girl.
my dad's favorite one. It was so scary. He
Mhm.
was just like, yeah, and little girl.
I had an author by the name of Greg Mank on the show. I've had him on several times and I've rerun his episodes. He is an expert on old Hollywood. And one of the greatest stories he ever told me, and I'll share this with you, was that that little girl was adopted. Her mother adopted her for the purpose of putting her in show business. She was a beautiful little baby.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was sad because, she would go to auditions and if she didn't get the part, her mother would spank her, punish her, and so when they filmed the scene where he threw her in the water, something was wrong and they had to redo it, but it was very physically tolling on her. And so the director, I think it was James Whale, went over to her and said, look, we've got to do this again. And, if we do it, we hope you can be a good sport. And if you do it, I'll buy you anything you want. You name it. So he was thinking, pony, a puppy, whatever. So then she goes, all right, well, I'll think about it. So the next day she comes over and she says, I want 12 hard-boiled eggs. He says, what? 12 hard-boiled eggs? Is that it? I mean, you could have other things. And the girl says, no, I want 12 hard-boiled eggs. And he said, why? And she said, because my mother won't let me eat hard-boiled eggs because she says they'll make me fat. And I want hard-boiled eggs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then, apparently the mother found out that they could have had cars and ponies and all this other business. And, but that's what she wanted, and that's just, it's sad almost,
Yeah, that is sad to adopt a child for that purpose. And
yeah.
So Frankenstein, I mean, she was living kind of a horror movie anyway.
Mm-hmm. And she was very close to Boris Karloff too. They became very good friends on that set.
Oh, that's actually that's sweet that she's remembered forever for that role.
Yeah.
So I guess in some ways her adopted mother got her exposed in that movie, and which is a classic, an old classic. Another one that my father loved was he thought, well, it was really, really scary. It was Pet Sematary.
Oh,
and I remember
yes.
reading, somebody asked Stephen King, what is the scariest movie you've done to you? And he said it was Pet Sematary. That frightened him. He said that movie frightened him at night.
Wow.
Stephen King.
And that was the Fred Gwynne one. There was two of them made, I think.
Yeah.
There was the Fred Gwynne one, is the one you were talking about, right?
The Fred Gwynne one, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a horrifying concept too. I was like, oh, I can hardly watch it. It was so awful. Yeah. Yep. But there was speaking of my parents, then of course there was The Exorcist, and we lived in St. Louis, Missouri, and so it was before I was born, obviously. But they worked at the university and for the Jesuit priest that actually did the exorcism in St. Louis.
Wow.
And they did it in the administrative building of the university, and
Mhm.
my father was there, but he never talked about it. I don't believe anybody that was there actually ever talked about it.
Hmm.
He was in a psychology department, so I guess they wanted somebody from, he was in a lot of different departments, but he was in the psychology department at that time. And so he told me, and that it was in the administrative building, and then it was boarded up right afterwards. And I guess the little boy was fine. And it also, he had had a stint in the hospital, which was attached, part of the university. Usually a hospital is, if they have a med school. And so when I was going to have my third child, and it was in St. Louis, I was going to the operating room and a doctor came in the elevator. Now I've heard all the stories about the hospital. And he said, "Do you notice that there's a number missing on the elevator buttons?" And I said, "Yes, I see that." And he said, "Do you know why?" And I said, "Why don't you tell me?" And he said, and the elevator opened and he just looked around. He goes, "Wouldn't you like to know?" And he walked out. And I'm like, "Okay, smart ass, I know."
Mhm. Wow.
They they closed the floor
Oh,
for good. Yeah.
wow.
I'm not sure. I mean, did they clean it? I didn't ask any questions. So
Mhm.
I had my son, and then and it felt terrible. And I'm sitting there, I'm laying there, and they turn the TV set on, and what comes on? But The Exorcist in the Exorcist hospital.
Oh, wow.
And I'm
Jeez.
like, way, way too tired and not feeling good for this. I said,
Mhm.
"Come here and turn that TV set off. I can't do this tonight."
Wow.
My gosh, guys,
Mm,
come on.
mm.
Play something else.
I know, and then it's like, or wouldn't it have been really spooky if you went to change the channels on the TV and every channel was The
Oh, The
Exorcist?
Exorcist.
Yeah.
Yeah. All Exorcist all day, all night.
Right.
Yeah, it
And
was
then
January too. What the heck was it doing on? It's supposed to be October for that stuff.
sure, I know, I
Or
know.
September. It was January. I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
God. Yeah.
Mm.
Go back to your floor. You got your own floor.
Mhm.
Own floor that's closed off.
Mhm. Right.
So, but
Right.
it's a classic. Along with the other classics like Frankenstein. I think you learn so much by watching the classics.
You really do. And I happen to enjoy listening to I'd mentioned before I had author Greg Mank on, and a lot of times he has DVDs where he has done commentary where you can watch movies sometimes and then hear the commentary with it, or even sometimes watching Svengoolie. I don't know if you get Svengoolie out where you are, but Svengoolie is like an Elvira type host. And then
Mhm.
what he does is, he'll show these classic horror and sci-fi movies, and then he gives facts about the movies. Like you come back from a commercial and he'll do like a little segment where he'll give some facts about, the way something was shot or the way something was made or the actors or something like that. And I'm just fascinated with the way people do these things. Even when I do get work, and I'm on set, just looking at isn't it fascinating, like the special effects people, how they're able to make these things and um,
I
all,
I
you know.
I I think that, yeah, I felt that with Legend of Black Annie,
Hmm.
that when they were making things look scary and how they were shooting it, it's making something from nothing.
Hmm.
And it's just really cool art form,
Right.
um, in the visual way, and the different people and the props and the effects and the masks, but how they shoot it and how then you can kind of believe it. And when they get it right, you're like, yes.
Yes.
And I find that watching the process is like seeing the brush strokes.
Mm-hmm.
and the bones. And I find it much more interesting because when they put the film out, it's the finished product, and it's the way you don't get to see all the cool stuff and the
Mm-hmm.
people and what happens. So I find the movie much more interesting on the set than after they've taken a bunch of stuff out and then you see the version they want you to see.
Sure, sure, sure. And then, being behind the scenes and having people see the final project or the final product, but then what happened, well, how it was really done and everything.
Yeah.
But these folks just never cease to amaze me with the things that they know. And I mean, I could just sit and watch them all day when I'm not on a, when I'm on a set, just watching what they do and everything. It's just really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I love to be on the set. I guess that's why I go to the set.
Yeah.
That's why I try to get to the set and find something to do. Yes. Because I find it very interesting to see the process.
Right. What are some other ones you've enjoyed over the years?
Oh gosh. Well, I watched the new Conjuring about that couple that I think all of their things are interesting. Annabelle and the Nun, and what they have as what Amityville Horror. Yeah, that's them too. All the different cases that they've worked on. Now they say the cases weren't real. Well, who cares anyway? I don't care. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But I like those. I think that's a great series. And I always, it's Silent Hill, I think is the name of it. And it's about a real place that actually is burning constantly underground. And it was a fabulous horror movie, but right in the middle of it, there's these women all dressed like nuns. And it's supposed to be spooky, but to me, it just kind of looks like they suddenly put a music video in the middle of a horror movie. Because they're just like dancing, and they've got these weird heads, and they got this little nurse costume that they're dancing around. It's like, who stuck the music video in the middle of the horror movie? But it was like my favorite part.
Wow.
It's like the rest of it's great, but back up, let's go watch the nuns again.
Well, yeah. Interesting.
I also love the series American Horror Story.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of those. Yeah, I haven't. I can't say that I'm like an expert and I've seen all of it, but I have seen quite a few of it, and it is good. It is good.
Yeah, I love it. I loved Coven. I loved Hotel. And then variations off of Coven, or they did one that was supposed to put all the stories together. And it was, I just thought they crafted those so well. I would have loved to have been doing those. Yeah. And like Churchill's movie, I think one of his FX artists, he was like, okay, I'm going to go do American Horror Story now. And I'm like, take me with you.
Yeah, really.
I want to go too.
Hey, I'd definitely love to see that. I mean, even when I was on Gotham, I got shot on Gotham, and some of the things that they were just doing to me, I thought were fascinating. Just the things with the blood and the squib and the just how they did everything. I'm just like, wow. And it's like, not only is it wild, but I'm just like, you guys thought of everything. I'm just fascinated by this. And I'm sure a lot of this stuff has been around for a while. I mean, you can kind of tell the difference between the way they do things now versus, in the 60s, because we've seen like some of the horror movies back then, and, the blood was a lot different looking, and, they've had plenty of time to keep polishing those scenes and everything. But, yeah, I love it. I love it. Did you ever, there were plenty of, you mentioned some of the black and white movies from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. How about moving into, and it's just amazing how they kind of went through these phases and trends over the years, like the different genres of actual horror, Of course, we had the Hitchcock, which really, he really spared us a lot of blood and gore. I mean, he would have it from time to time. You'd see it like in The Birds and different things, but it seemed like he would really only go to that as a last resort, you know?
Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of what the older ones, they relied a lot on the story
Right.
and suspense that they could create. And I think there was just a huge amount of how interesting that was,
hmm
working with less and making it feel like more.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Mess with somebody's mind and you take them down a winding path, that can be far scarier than having it all presented to you on a platter, like, okay, here's all the violence, there you go,
Mhm.
rather than you're kind of caught up in it.
Yeah, yeah. And the techniques that he used, I mean, just were passed down for so many generations. A lot of what he did, really had a big influence on the way Jaws was filmed, for example. The beach scene where Alex Kintner gets eaten by the shark. And of course, they do that big famous, zoom in on Roy Scheider. That was a big Hitchcock thing. And the thing is that we didn't really see the shark for the
Mhm,
longest time in that movie, you
mhm.
know? Just really interesting how, those techniques and the ways that they were able to, just kind of build suspense and everything was really, really neat how they did that.
Yes, I love that. That's Churchill's favorite. He loves Alfred Hitchcock.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, he's really good. I've watched a number of his movies on. He has a lot of material on. I think it was on Amazon Prime. I've watched probably about 5 or 6 of his movies, and he likes wrestlers too. There seems to be a number of wrestlers in his movies as well.
Oh, really? Which
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
was
yeah.
that?
A couple of them I've seen. I think there was I can't remember. I think one of them's name was Kane something or other. They're
Oh,
all a bunch of guys about my size in much better shape, and they're doing the fight scenes and everything. I mean, who better to go to for a fight scene?
yeah, my first cousin once removed. He's an actor and he was a professional wrestler
hmm
and he does stunts and so forth. And his name is Sam Culver,
hmm
but he went by a different wrestling name. It was Andrew Hellman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we were in a film together and it's always nice to work with family.
hmm
And then I asked, I would be like, hey, do you need somebody who's a wrestler?
Right.
Uh, and see if there's something for Sam.
hmm
But he and I kind of know the same people. So yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. It's good to have family in the business.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, he makes sure I get the chips I want or
hmm
something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
Uh,
here, I saved these for you.
mhm. Yeah, it seems like you've done a number of projects, at least 1 or 2, with Michael Moutsatsos, who I'd had on as a guest. What's he like to work with? He really told me a lot of interesting things about his history and everything, and sang your praises like crazy. He was
Oh,
was very very kind and very
I have to
just said
watch that.
yeah said just really enjoyed working with you. And his movies are good. I mean, like I said, we're talking a little bit earlier, and it seems like he's doing a great job with his movies. The movies are well done, and the his results at these film festivals are saying so. What's it like? What do you think? From what you've seen as an actress working with him,
Mhm.
what kinds of things do you think he does that makes him successful at this?
Well, he treats everyone with respect,
hmm
um, and he's he's fair, and he lets you do your thing. He enjoys creativity,
Yeah.
and he has it all very well organized,
hmm
and he's very grateful for what everybody does. So he's just a super nice man.
Well,
And
good,
of
good.
course very creative and loves it, loves the
hmm
business and of the storytelling, and that's loving what you do, really, that's what shows. And that's
Yeah.
the most important thing. So he's wonderful. So I'm excited for more projects with Michael.
Exactly. Well, good. That's good to know. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, he is a good storyteller. Having seen a good some of his work. Like I said, I enjoyed watching it. It was definitely a movie that movies that I enjoyed watching. I enjoyed seeing you, of course, because I was watching them. Before I knew him, I was researching you actually, and that's why I wanted to be prepared for having you on the show.
Okay.
And everything
Yeah,
here.
I was a fortune teller in The Butcher,
Mm-hmm.
and some other sets I've walked on. Like if there was a fortune teller, and I wasn't the one they picked as a fortune teller, but people would run at me like I was the one, and then the other actors would be like, "No, wait a minute, it's me."
Mm-hmm.
It was like, yeah, I could do it if you didn't want
to. Right. How about now? Let me ask you this too. Do you have a bucket list of people that you'd like to work with? I mean, you've done, you've accomplished a lot. You've done quite a bit over the years. I can't imagine that you've worked with, everybody on your bucket list though, or everybody there. I'm sure there's probably lots of other people you'd love to collaborate and work with. Are there any people you'd like to share?
Yeah, well, I think when I was going to a lot of screenings, I met some different people. I was incredibly impressed with Tilda Swinton.
Mm-hmm.
We actually seem to be very similar in some respects. And she's very, very smart. And I would love to work with her. It was Suspiria, I think is how you pronounce it. And she looked around and she said, "I don't trust anyone who doesn't say they're not a witch." And she was looking at me and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Mm-hmm.
But when she came over and we talked and took pictures together. So I would love to do something with her. I've always liked the actor Julian McMahon. And I don't know if he acts anymore, but I liked him in Charmed. I thought he was a great demon. Mm-hmm. And gosh, let's see, who else would I like to work with? Oh, Rob Zombie again.
Oh yeah. I like what he does. I really like what he does. There are a lot of people out there that are not fond of remakes. And I think, some of the things that he did, towards the beginning, of course, he did The Devil's Rejects and The House of a Thousand Corpses, but then the Halloween remakes that he did, everybody's like, oh, geez, not another Halloween, not another remake of this or that. But I gotta say, those were well done. I thought he told the story very well in those. Don't you agree?
I definitely do agree. There's people that say they don't like it, but I like the way that he brought a human aspect into the villain, so you could kind of understand and have a feeling for him as to what he may have been going through.
Yeah.
I liked that aspect of him making it more human, and I know that is one of the things people criticize, but I thought it was a different take, and I enjoyed that take on it. And he had me do Mama Firefly in his premiere haunted houses when I first started working for Rob Zombie. My mother would say to me, "Are you going to go work for Mr. Zombie today?" Mr. Zombie? I'm like, "Yes, Mom, I'm going to go work for Mr. Zombie today." So cute. And so it was one of the best times ever. I just love him. He's awesome.
Oh yeah, like I said, I really think he does a nice job with his movies and everything. And he's,
I'm super excited to see the Munsters.
Yes.
In that one too, but it will happen. It'll happen. So I'm super excited to see that. So yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, I can't wait to see that either. I'm definitely interested in seeing when that comes out and everything, his take on
Mhm.
it and stuff. I mean, like I said, everything that I've seen of his, I've really liked.
Yeah.
And and it's really something too, because there have been times when people have crossed over. Of course, he was wildly, he definitely very successful with White Zombie,
Oh,
his
his
bands and playing
music.
music, but then coming over and being able to be successful at this as well.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do.
Yeah.
It's it's not easy to do. And I think he's, like I said, I just really think he's done a great job with it, and hey, more power to him.
Well, I remember Alice Cooper's comment about Rob Zombie's music, and he said he gets it.
Yep.
He gets it.
Hmm.
And I think that's really pretty much what you can say about him. He gets
Hmm.
it. He's got the music. I kind of can feel how the music translates into the visual of the film. I see similarity
Hmm.
between his creative process and all of what he's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he gets it. He
Right.
stays in his lane.
Hmm.
And I mean, I think it is. And he understands that kind of emotion.
Hmm.
And he does it like a master.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I'd love to work with him again.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's many, many other people I haven't thought of, and I'd like to work with everyone I have already worked with too.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that's great. Like I said, I think I've been, and I think you probably feel the same way from the way you kind of said that. I feel like I've been blessed
Mhm.
with the people that I've encountered and the people that I've come across with, and kind of, not quite as successful, but I come from music as well.
Mhm.
I really hadn't been acting, that long. I've been playing, bass for 40 years
Oh,
almost. And
sweet.
yeah, and I always played in bands, and I got an opportunity to do some theater. And then theater moved into doing some local commercials. And then I got asked to do this and asked to do that. And I got referred to do this and referred to do that. And,
Mhm.
I met my wife doing theater, and then I ended up getting management, and then, getting to some opportunities to do, network TV and some movies and things like that. And, it's like I said, but there's nothing easy about this. And I'm sure, you may encounter people too that just don't quite get how difficult this is.
Yeah.
You people come up to you and say, hey, you ought to get into one of his movies or one of their movies. And I'm like, you just cannot waltz in the door and say, hey, I'm here. You ready? Yeah. Or, you can't
Yeah.
just, you just can't show up at the Jimmy Fallon show, or, Stephen Colbert or something like that, or and say, hey, all right, yeah, I'm ready to come on. Here I
Yeah.
am. You can't just do that, and the thing is too, it's like, when you get some of these TV shows and stuff like that, it's just there's no guarantee. You could be
Yeah.
on once, they could never
Mhm.
have you back, or you could be a
Oh,
recurring character.
exactly. Yeah, I just did a character that they introduced in season 3 on a TV show that's on Apple TV. It's called Conframa.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to tell you any more about it because it's not out. But yeah, I'd like to be on it again.
Hmm.
And it's more comedy because I actually do comedy too. I don't know how that happened,
Hmm.
but yeah, and then I shot a series over the summer, and it was done in the Netflix format, and I was a
Mm.
recurring character. I was a detective. It's uh, it's called Incandescent Love. Yeah, I can say it now because it was in a film festival,
Okay.
and I guess it's going through different screening groups
Hmm.
now.
Right.
And so I'm wanting that to, I'm like, come on, come on. I want it to be on 10 years from now. Come on, guys.
Hmm.
Because sometimes stuff goes on later and you're like, oh, it's on TV now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you never know. And then something else you've done, like everybody all over the world seen it, like when I was on
Hmm.
A Thousand Ways to Die, and
Right.
people were
Right.
writing to me from England and
Hmm.
all over the world. I'm like, well, okay.
Hmm.
Glad you saw it. Thank
Right.
you.
Right. I know. There's been times, and my wife especially has done a couple of things where they were commercials. They were filmed here, but they were for different parts of the country. And for whatever they never sent a copy, and we couldn't reach the people to find it.
Right.
But somebody said they saw a picture of my wife on a billboard in the Midwest, I think in Kansas City somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of her like holding fanned money, like for and smiling, for a casino, and like we've never seen it.
Oh
I
wow.
mean, she
Yeah.
remembered doing the photo shoot and everything, but sometimes that happens too.
Oh, absolutely. I was on Masters of Illusion, and
Mhm,
I was helping with some of the tricks,
mhm.
and I never got to see it. And
Right.
a friend of mine wrote to me on Facebook, and she said, I turned on Masters of Illusion. The last person I expected to see was you. I was like, were you my friend? I mean, you're not acting like it right now.
Mhm.
But yeah, I said yes, I was there. But then sometimes somebody will write to me and say, I saw you on Heart of Dixie. I'm like, really? Oh wow, which episode? They never told me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too. And I don't know if in the past you've ever done like training films or industrial films or anything like that either. They never give you those.
Very little,
Yeah.
because I like to stick with something I might be able to see.
Yeah.
When I was a fashion illustrator for my son. When
Yeah.
I was a fashion mama.
Yeah.
As a fashion illustrator for Yonkers, they had me do different training films.
Mhm.
And because I have red hair, they said,
Right.
statistically speaking, most people find redheads suspicious and they think they're thieves. So
Hmm.
we're going to have you play the thief in our film. I'm like,
Oh, okay.
okay. I guess that's fine. I get paid anyway. All right.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
I was the thief in their training film because I was their idea. Their statistical analysis showed that I was most suspicious looking.
Wow. That's funny.
Thanks. Thank you.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, Laura, I appreciate you taking the time to come back and be with us again this year. It's been
Oh, my
great.
pleasure.
You know, it's been great following you. We kind of banter back and forth on Facebook and everything. And I'm always excited to see when you have a new project or some good news coming out. And you just shared with the world your portfolio of new headshots, which
Oh
I'm due
yeah.
for myself soon too. Yeah, I've got to go do that. I'm heading up to New York for that in a couple months. So
Right.
yeah. It's always great to hear good news. I'm always, like I said, I follow you, and I'm always, glad to see that you're working and getting it done.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be really excited when some of my new projects come out, and
Mhm.
there's Terror Tunes, and that should be coming out soon.
Mhm.
And there's The Occultist 2, I guess that's already on TV.
Right.
And like I said, Double Rue, and it's also has Vincent M. Ward in it.
Mhm.
And then there is 8 Days to Hell, and that has Eric Roberts.
Mhm.
And all these different, and I told you about Confrema and Encompassing Love. So, and then I'm starting rehearsals this week on
Oh,
another horror film. So I'm super excited about that. And it looks like it's going to be very interesting. They got all the locations locked down, and it just, it's going to be, I think it's going to be very atmospheric
right.
in its content. So yeah.
Well, good. Well, great. We're looking forward to all these things, and please don't be a stranger. Please don't be a
Oh
stranger. We enjoy having you, and you've always got something interesting to tell us and share with us and everything. And I really enjoy having you. So,
okay, the moral of the story is, if you get accused of witchcraft, Find a good lawyer.
Yes, yes, yes,
That
exactly.
appears to be what you need to do.
Exactly. And not only beat the charges, but give them a kick in the butt too.
That's right. That's right.
That's
I'm
right.
suing you back.
That's right.
The inconvenience you brought upon me, and however you
Absolutely.
have said it.
Good. And you have a website, right? Do you want to let us know
Yeah.
what the website is real quick before we wrap up?
Okay. I would love for you to visit me on my socials. There's my website, Laura Meadows, actress.com. I differentiated it because I have Laura Meadows, artist.com.
Mhm.
I'm on Instagram. Come over and see me there, Laura
Mhm.
_A_Meadows. And then I have a fan page and a regular page on Facebook, also called Laura Meadows. And come on over there. My friend page is full,
Mhm.
but come over to my fan page and follow me there. I would love to see you. I don't have a Twitter because I really have nothing to say.
I'm like a dork on Twitter. I have, the reason I have a Twitter is because there are a lot of people in there that follow Gotham, and
Oh,
Gotham has a following, and these people are absolutely wonderful. Gotham has a following, much like they remind me a lot of like the Star Trek fandom, the Trekkies,
okay.
and
Yeah.
these people eat, breathe, and sleep Gotham. And, Gotham, I was in the last episode filmed
Mhm,
and the third to last shown. And they were supposed to go for 7 seasons and they went halfway into season 5.
mhm.
So these folks want their Gotham, they want their Gotham back, and they go viral all the time with their posts and everything. And they've been great to me. I mean, a number of them, kind of befriended me, and I
Aw.
announce stuff on there, but I don't know if I'm doing it right, but they're nice to me. So,
Well, just do what you do. But sometimes they get those shows back if they make enough noise.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they can get it back for another season. I remember that happened to another show. I forgot which one it was. Well, there was probably several that happened
Mhm.
where they brought it back. Oh, Lucifer.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because and I love Lucifer too.
Mhm. Yeah, well,
I mean
that's
the show. I mean the show.
yes, yes, yes. And we
Right. Oh, speaking of someone I'd like to work with, yes.
exactly. Well, good, 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 good. But that's the thing, with Gotham, they're trying, and there are thousands, and they're all over the world. They're not just here, too.
Hmm.
And they are very, very adamant that they want their Gotham back. And the thing that makes me optimistic
Really?
about it is that I only died once, and most characters on that show died at least 4 times. So
Oh, for sure, you could come back and die again. Yeah.
exactly,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
You're never really dead in one of those, unless
Right,
they really, somebody wants you gone.
right, right. Well,
But
comic book characters tend to regenerate or come back somehow anyway,
there's
so
many different ways to bring you back. It could be a witch,
absolutely,
it could be not true, it could be a twin, it could be many things.
absolutely cloned,
Clone. Oh yeah, you could be cloned. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Laura. It's always a pleasure, and much success to you in the upcoming year, and we will see you soon. So,
Well,
folks, you've listened to Laura Meadows tonight on Foul Players Radio, and she's returned to grace us with her presence. And thanks again, Laura. We'll see you all next time.
we will see you next time. Thank you so much. And thanks
Absolutely.
everybody. Come visit me.
Absolutely. Come check her out. And
Not in a creepy way, okay?
right. Yeah. No, none of that. None of that.